everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. This is Afro Expats. I'm really excited to have Cartess on today. He's going to give you his rundown and his journey to Mexico. So I've been doing these lifestyle series for a few months, and I'm really excited to have him on because I like getting a Black male perspective. He's doing a lot of really wonderful things in Merida, in Mexico. And, you know, I just saw him online. He was posting a lot of really interesting, encouraging words and videos, and you guys just really should get to know him a little bit better. I am very drawn to people that are inspiring others, no matter where you're from, to take that journey and move abroad. So without further ado, let's introduce Cartess and let him take over. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm super excited and nervous at the same time.
Don't be nervous. I've seen you on videos. You're good. Go ahead, hit it.
Well, I'm Cartess, and we got here maybe about 6 months ago. I initially was traveling through Colombia, South America.
Okay.
I'm looking for a place to live there before I ended up here. And, you know, 6 years ago, we were living in Medellin, Colombia. The plan was to always go back. And so I went back about 8 months ago to find a place. And in this particular instance, specifically decided to stay away from Medellin because of lots of traffic, lots of pollution, the costs were going high, expats flying in from everywhere. And so I was like, if I go further out into Colombia, I could probably find better deals, less people, less pollution, and stuff like that. So that was the goal. So traveled around to multiple cities, found a few cities that I thought I'd settle in, but they ended up having what was considered a day of protest in Colombia, which ended up running for a few weeks. And it started to turn violent. It was only supposed to last a day, turned violent. Combine that with a lot of the lockdowns, everything was closed, couldn't go anywhere. And so at that point, I was like, well, you know what, let me leave here until things calm down. And a friend of mine suggested I come to Merida. And so that's what I did. Once I ended up here, I just fell in love with the place, and that just kind of eliminated Colombia altogether.
That's interesting. So had you ever considered Mexico before?
Never.
Wow.
It wasn't even on my radar.
Wow, interesting. Had you visited like any? Never.
Never.
Okay.
And that was my mind now, is the fact that we border Mexico and it's so close, and yet it was just never a possibility or a thought, simply because of all the negative stuff that I heard about on television. It was just like, Mexico can't possibly be any good. And so it was not even a thought.
Right. And we, you know, I hear this pretty much the same conversation in different contexts all the time, but in the end, it's the same thing. It's like, I never considered it. There are those of us like myself, I had experience with Mexico, but I had that experience, and my initial experience actually started not with going with a Black friend or something, you know, it was like other people that were like, hey, come and check it out and come see it, you got to check it out. And I remember just having those initial worries as well, like, is it safe, you know? And it's kind of sad because it really is an amazing country. And I say this in all my videos. You know, sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe we should just keep it on the DL, you know, but I find that interesting because even Colombia has like a bad rap as well. What did you feel about that? Or was someone there and had invited you? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so my daughter, she was a junior, I think, a sophomore in high school. And so for her 11th grade year, she got accepted into an exchange student program to go to the Czech Republic. And so none of us had passports. And so it was like, when we went to take her to get hers, you know, it was like all the excitement and the energy about just getting that passport. And it was like, man, why don't we get our passports? And
Yeah.
so we got our passports, and she was going to be gone for a year in the check. And
Mhm.
so it was like, you know what? Because we had 5 children.
Mhm.
And so it was like, okay, the oldest one was already out the house. She was going to be gone for a year. And it was like, it'd be cheaper to travel with three children and much
Instead of
easier
5.
to navigate instead of 5. And so it was like, well, while she's gone for that year, we'll go for a year. And so we
Nice.
started doing some research.
Mhm.
Colombia kept popping up,
Mhm.
and started doing more and more research on
Mhm.
Colombia, and it ended up being Medellin. And
Mhm.
so that's how we ended up there. Sold everything we had. Um, I mean, everything. And, we each walked away with one suitcase. So we had all of our
Wow.
belongings were in 5 bags, 5
Wow.
suitcases.
That's
And
impressive.
yeah, it was, I have severe ADD. So it's a blessing and a curse, because when the other side kick in, you're all the way in. You don't even consider the other possibilities. You don't see the other angle. You just in the moment. So in
Mhm.
that moment, it was like we going all the way in, giving away everything. There's no plans to come back, and so that's what happened. And so we got to Colombia, and I tell you, I was nervous. I was scared. I mean, after doing all of my research, I was confident it was the right thing to do.
Mhm.
But when we got to the airport, I started second guessing myself. I was like, did we do the right thing?
Been
They might
there.
kidnap us. You know what I mean? You just get shook up. You start
You look like you
questioning.
could defend yourself.
Exactly. So we had got to the airport, and we didn't have any return tickets. So we got to the desk, and the lady was like, "You don't have any return tickets. So unless you buy some tickets, you ain't getting on this plane." And so for me, I was like, "That's a sign we don't need to go." And so I turned around, and I was just looking for an excuse at that point.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, "We can't go. We don't have no tickets." And everybody was looking at me. They was like, "Well, Daddy, you done sold everything. We don't have no house. We don't have no bed. We don't have nowhere to go."
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So I
Yeah.
ended up buying the tickets at the airport. The 5 tickets. The guy was nice enough to tell me, pay extra for the tickets. When you land, get a refund on the
Yeah,
tickets.
I was about
And
to
so
say
that's what
that.
we did.
That's a hack. Let's just say this to others. This is a hack as well, especially with, all the crackdowns in Mexico. And I've run into this, in the past where I was on a tourist visa, now I'm not, but I was initially because all of my plans to do the temporary visa in the US kind of just didn't pan out and I was running out of time. I had to get out of my apartment. The shipping company came to pick my stuff up. And then it was like, I went on the Friday before, like they were coming to get my things on Saturday. And I was just like, I don't have anywhere to live after tomorrow. I have no bed. I think the last 2 nights in my apartment, me and my son slept in his room on the floor on a carpet and maybe some old covers. But the hack is that, yes, you kind of need to show that when you're going back to the US. And I know this isn't the best advice, but if you find yourself in this position and you're trying to figure it all out, you can on certain airlines buy and in 24 hours you can cancel that. So you need to show it and then you can cancel. It's not the best advice, but yeah, it came out of my mouth and I said it. So whatever.
There you go. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah,
As
it
soon as that
worked.
plane landed, I got my money. I calculated, got my money back,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
easy peasy.
Exactly. So that's interesting. So what did your family think about, oh, dad's telling us we're basically dumping and we got one suitcase and we're leaving. Like, how did they feel? Were they excited about it? Was it kind of an adventure?
It was an adventure. They've always been used to my last minute shenanigans. They've been dealing with it all their lives, and it was not unusual for. It's very difficult for me to plan.
Okay.
So it's not, even with trips and vacations. So it's not unusual for me to wake up in the morning and say, okay, we're going to Gatlinburg for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Pack your stuff up. We leaving at 12. So that was very common. So to them, this was just another adventure. They've always enjoyed the places we went, these little last minute trips. So, they were excited. When we got there, they loved the city. We had a good time. There was lots of stuff to do. Felt very safe there. They loved it. They loved it. So they adapt very well. We homeschool them, which started when we decided we was going to start traveling 6-7 years ago. That's when we started homeschooling. So gives us a lot more flexibility to be able to kind of move about and go.
That's awesome. So since, we do have the family aspect, what has that experience been like for you? Because I think a lot of times people that do have children, they can't kind of wrap their mind around, the homeschool situation. The concerns that I get with some of my clients is, will they be able to get back into school in the US if they return? What happens if they graduate at the homeschool level? Like, how can they get into college and things like that? Like, what has been your experience in this regard? Because I've pieced my kids' education together since I got to Mexico, but I saw all of these options here. I didn't quite see them in the US. So what's been, now obviously 2020 put a lot of new perspectives on for parents, but what was your experience? Because you've been doing this for a while.
The first couple of years, just doing homeschool, it was a challenge. It wasn't simple. I think most homeschoolers would tell you it takes about a good 2 years before you find your rhythm and find your pace. You start questioning whether or not you're doing it right. Oh my God, I'm going to destroy my kids. They're not learning. I'm messing them up. And so we went through that phase. So it took about a couple of years. When we left, our home base technically was Florida. And so Florida was very lax on their rules. So particularly in Florida, they don't do any testing. Is not required each year. They just needed to show a teacher all of the work that they did, and she had to sign off on it, and that was good enough for the state of Florida. But even here, I'm considering putting them in the public schools after Christmas, because I want them to get that interaction, be a little more immersed in the culture, and I find that just based on my research, homeschoolers tend to do better on tests. More universities and colleges are accepting them into their schools without any issue. It's no longer a stigma anymore. And I just believe, even with the traveling, it's one thing to talk about culture. It's a better thing when they're actually immersed in it and they see it and experience. So they have better perspectives than I would think most people have. And they learn skills, they adapt faster, and they see the world at a much larger level than they see a worldview versus what most folks see. So I think it's an advantage.
I do too.
Homeschooling.
I absolutely think it too. I think part of, and I'm going through this now because my son's in a homeschool kind of, so I pieced this whole year together. Just, I got a teacher for this, or that, and it's affordable here in Mexico. And I say this all the time. So, if anyone's watching this and has like grade, younger kids that are under 16 or 18 years old, like, consider the experience first, because that's something you cannot pay for. And your kid cannot get that in high school. Being in a country where they can immerse themselves in another culture, learn another language, and just really have there's so many benefits. I feel like just even networking, making these ground floor friends, for later on in life. This is how we kind of move forward through life. We network and we connect with people that we've known for a long time, and they know people, and it just continues to grow. But in saying all of that, I've been really able and fortunate, thankfully, to put it all together. And then I realized like there's so many options and opportunities that I would have never considered if I stayed in the US. Because for us, it's like public school or private school. Can you afford it? Or you just put them in public school. And, this really allows people to have more access to things that maybe you wouldn't be able to check off in the US, like, oh, I want my child to learn, to play the piano or an instrument or to sing and do this and this. You might be able to say, not everyone, but a lot of situations I think would only be conducive to one or two of those things, and I find here that I have the ability to let him try a lot of different things because it's very affordable. And, it's been amazing. We've had the same Spanish tutor for about 3 years, and he's flourishing. She's really good. She's a Mexican teacher and she's amazing. He loves her. And, he's fluent in Spanish now because of it. Yeah. So, I say these because I want people with kids to just be like, you know what, how can I make this work? And if it doesn't work in the same exact way it, like there's so many options, this is one of them. Homeschooling is really, I think, a strong way to develop with a child that maybe has even challenges, just being in a classroom. My son has challenges in a classroom setting, he's just, he's social. He's just not, he doesn't push himself, but with the one-on-one, I've seen him flourishing, and I'm because you're working on what their weakness is, right? What they can't do on their own. You're working to develop those skill sets. And if he was in a group setting, teacher doesn't have time for these individual things for 18 kids. So it's been really beneficial. So I digress. Yeah. But how are your kids doing there?
When I say they love it, they genuinely love it here. One of the benefits, of course, in Mexico is the fact that the cost of stuff and services and schools and things you want to learn is so much cheaper. So, for example, one of my kids is taking a ballet program. In the US, we were paying practically $200 a month, and she went to class twice a week. Here, we pay $50 a month, and she goes 6 days a week.
Wow!
And it's a super intensive program. Some of the kids that go to this program have already gotten full ride scholarships to dance universities across the world, other places like Spain and Europe. So it's like wait a minute, the program is 10 times different, more intensive, better. And my daughter was like, she had to audition to get into the school. And after the audition, she came home and was like, if they accept me, we can't go back. This program is better. And so when she started her first week, her first week in school, she had learned more in that first week than she had in the last 3 years. And that just reinforced, we can't go back there. Because she wants to do that professionally. And just from what she's seen, she's like, this is the place that can get me there.
Oh, I love this.
So it's cheaper. So I'm telling folks all the time, whatever you want to do, if you want to be a chef, you could probably go to culinary arts school here for 1,000% cheaper.
A lot less. I'm really hoping my son wants to go to school here. I'm like, please don't tell me you want to go somewhere in the US.
Exactly.
I'm going to try to stay.
If he does, he might come back. He'd be like, man, I'm going back to Mexico.
No, that's so beautiful. I think this is the first kind of like girl related story that I've heard in a while, because I have a boy. So I have like a lot of friends with, little boys and stuff. And that gave me chills, because I just thought about like, this whole setting, it's so competitive in the US, and, I don't know how it is here, but it just sounds like, wow, that was kind of the grounding force for you. We're staying here.
Yes. She got about, about 4 or 5 more years before she's 18 to finish school. And, I think it's wise to stay put until they finish, because of the opportunities for her. It's a free ride to school if she decides to continue to pursue that. I met another mother the other day who had a daughter in an intensive tennis program.
Ah,
Same thing. She is significantly cheaper.
mhm.
She goes to class, I think 5 days a week, 3 hours a day,
Wow.
and she's getting some very intensive tennis instruction.
Mhm.
Whereas in the US, you might only go to tennis class twice a week for 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Mhm.
And, she's like, well, I can't practice with her every day because I don't know how to play tennis. But
Mhm.
with her getting 3 hours of practice every day at the school,
Right.
all she needs. So, I
Mhm.
mean, the programs, I mean, there's so much here to do for kids.
Yes.
It's just the last, particularly with families with children. I
Mhm.
mean, if they're concerned about keeping their kids involved or active or big, that's the least of their worries. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Like, when we were in Florida, because we also lived in Florida and West Palm Beach. And yeah, my son was actually born in Miami. I was there and I was like, oh, can't raise him here. So let me go a little further north. It's too wild. It's fun, but that's like when he's 21, he can go over there and check it out. But yeah, not as a kid.
exactly.
So we were in West Palm, and I mean, he was much younger, but I tried to find a lot of free things for us to do. Like we went to the Norton Museum all the time. They had a lot of, interesting exhibits, but also a lot of kid things, throughout the month. And whatever I could just find that was kind of culturally stimulating in some capacity or something artsy. But I remember, and I've said this in a couple of my other videos, he really was into building, even as a 4-year-old, the Legos, but the robotic ones. He
Mm.
really got into this and he asked me, could he do a camp? And I was like, okay, sure. And when I was there, I had my own company. So the way my clients, everything fluctuated, it was, I didn't always have like the exact amount of what I'm making. So, I had to allocate this much is going to be for that. And this is going to be for our cost of living. This much is for our travel, our food, whatever, and our entertainment. So, he took this course for, I think, 2 weeks, one summer, and it was like $250 for 1 week. And if I
Mhm.
had done the whole summer, it would have been like $1,000. I was like, I can't really pour
Wow.
$1,000 for half a day of robotics class. So I did 2 weeks
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, that's what you got. And he never stopped talking about it. It was like every summer, do they have robotics? Can I go back to robotics? I really want to build. And I was just like, oh, okay. And finally, when we got here, he asked me a few times. I didn't find anything because I don't know if you've experienced this, but it's really hard to just go online in Mexico and find stuff unless you're
Yeah.
like in a Facebook group and you word of mouth. So finally, I think I just had a conversation with a guy that was helping us with some things in our home. And I may have mentioned I must have mentioned the robotics thing. And then he knew someone that moved recently to this city. And he was like, my friend, Marcy, she's a certified Lego robotics teacher, and she's looking for students. She just moved here from Mexico City. Would your son be interested? I was like, absolutely. What's her number? And honestly, it's been amazing, absolutely
Wow.
amazing, and so affordable. I mean, I don't know exactly what, because we pay like a flat amount, but I want to say it's about 100. Let's see, it's 37. I don't remember. It's like maybe $200 for the whole
Mhm.
month ish,
Wow.
maybe something like
Mm.
this. And he goes 2 days a week. Initially, she was
Ah.
actually coming to my house with all her stuff
Ooh.
initially. And she finally, like, she did a summer camp and got a bunch of kids. We helped promote her through our friends, and a bunch of
Mhm.
kids signed up for her summer camp. And she now has like a space. It's all Lego, robotics, everything. And the stuff they learn is incredible. I mean, he's been
Mm.
making things that move. He's coding them in his iPad. It's amazing.
Wow.
And she asked me a couple months ago, let's get him ready. Would you be okay with him being in some competitions in March in Mexico?
Really?
And I was like, heck yeah, So it's
Wow.
been 1 year of him with her. along with the other things, but he just loves it. You know, he makes like these little arms that move, and he made like this breakdancing robot a couple of weeks ago. So the point is that yes, it's here. Parents, families with kids, they have something for everyone, and you can probably afford to do, if not all of it, a lot of it. You know, between taekwondo, piano lessons, music, singing, you just have your plethora of choices. So I really want to encourage parents not to be like nervous about that, because you can afford it and it's here. Like there's someone who has that skill set, and they're willing to even come to your house and teach your child.
That part right there, I mean, we've had so many people come, and all that you just said, I mean, that's just life changing for him. I mean, it's going to change his whole perspective on the world. Absolutely. And moving to a place like Mexico opens up opportunities for them to get stuff that they're interested in. They can dive all the way in and go as intensive as they want to go. And, you know, I mean, and like you're saying, everything is here, the karate classes, the dance classes, the music classes. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and I've been finding so far that the programs here they're just much more intensive. You know, which is a good thing, because a kid like yours, who's into the robotics and the programming, when they have that interest, they want to go all the way in.
They do.
And a lot of the stuff in the US is surface material. It's not intensive until you get to the university level. But that right there is life changing, man.
No, it is. No, it is. I mean, for me too, because I was like, he's doing something he really enjoys, and he's only 9. You know, he's literally coding, you know, and learning all these like really interesting things. And, you know, like the other day he was saying something to me about, I didn't know, it went over my head. He was like, he said, I have to do something to make my thing turn a certain way, and the degree has to be blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, okay, that sounds great. I was thinking to myself, like, wow, I don't even know what you're talking about, but it sounds really smart.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's a good thing, you know, and I do this often, you know. This takes a lot of my time throughout my day, but I absolutely love speaking to other people, sharing these stories, because I want this audience that's on here to really get like this. You know, when people tell me, oh my God, I watched this and it's so inspiring, you never know what people are going to gravitate towards. And that makes me feel like it's so worth it. And you know, we sit here in front of a camera, you don't know who's going to look at this later on. But my point simply is that we are here to inspire you, whoever you are, whether you're single mom, single dad, a couple, kids, just, you know, come down and give it a try, because this is life changing for all of us, you know, especially for your children.
It really is. And I'll add that, you know, back in the US, I worked a lot in my little businesses, and you know, and I met other families that work a lot, just, you know, going to work and their jobs, and they don't have time to be mom and dad because they're so tied up with work. But what I'm finding here is that, again, the cost of living is significantly cheaper. So, you know, we go out to eat more often as a family. We go out and enjoy street food together and test different things and try the different experiences. We go to the movies. Like right now, we're waiting for the Will Smith movie with Venus and Venus's dad, Venus and Serena's dad.
I think
it starts in, I think, 2 weeks, I believe. You know, so the movies here, 3 of us, we went to the movie theater. It was $6.90 for all 3 of us. You know, so it gives us opportunities to go do stuff like that more often. Bowling, we went bowling for like $3, all of us, with the shoes
included. We miss bowling. we have to go to Querétaro to go bowling, and my son used to
Uh,
love bowling in Florida. So someone needs to come to San Miguel and open a bowling alley.
there you go. There you go. There
Yeah,
you
but
go.
to your point, yes, you know, you can do so many more things, and like even on a family level where it doesn't feel like you have to be so selective and carefully planning it out, you know, and that's how I
Exactly.
felt, especially as a single
Exactly.
mom in Florida, you know, before I married with my husband. It was like, you know, okay, I'm going to carefully plan this. And we still did, you know, we still did a lot. I traveled, I preferred to
Mhm.
travel. So I would hit the road and drive to Savannah, or
Ah,
wherever, hop on a plane, cheap ticket to wherever. But in going out just locally, yeah, the movie theater was outrageously expensive. Yeah, it's amazing. I go to the theater now, same thing, you know, buy 2 adult tickets, a child
mhm.
ticket, and it is 156 pesos, which is about
Whew,
$6. Six
can't beat
dollars,
it.
y'all, and popcorn's probably 50 cents. I don't even know. I just, yeah, we just do. You can just do, right? You don't have to
Absolutely.
stress. And okay, I just want to preface this by saying, yes, we get to enjoy these benefits. You know, it's not so easy for everyone locally to enjoy it on the same level and
Yeah,
capacity. So I always say walk with grace, be humble about
absolutely.
the fact that they receive us, and that we're you know, able to enjoy this country and this lifestyle. I'm so appreciative. Like, really, people ask me about going back to the US. I'm like, oh, I
No,
don't know.
I don't think so.
No.
I'm here. I'm, I'm like, if I ever got the idea to go back, I'm sure a week later, I'll be like, nah. I think when I go, I'm gonna be visiting my mom soon. Those visits will remind me on why I'm here and why I will probably continue to stay here.
Yes.
I mean, the taxi ride from the airport to her house, the Uber rider probably gonna cost me $75. You know what I
Oof.
mean? That'll be enough to say get back.
I feel that way when I land in the airport and try to eat
Oh,
between the bad service, bad attitude, and the cost. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I haven't been there for over a year, and I'm not sure when I'll be heading that way. My husband actually went up on Tuesday, so he's
uh,
kind of running around. He was telling me about some guzzling rental car he got. I was just like, I don't even want to hear about it.
yeah,
It's,
that'll cause stress.
yeah, they were like, this is what we had. My daughter got me. And I kind of chuckled a little bit. And he was talking
uh,
about, then he says, oh, well, I traded it in. I was like, thank
thank
you.
you. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So, but so you made it to Merida
Mm.
and you've been there for 6 7 months, and like what's it like for like you going from Medellin, or where you, well, we never talked about where you from originally in the US. I know you said you lived in Florida. Is that where your home base was?
Yeah, originally I was born in Mississippi.
Okay.
My dad joined the military. Well, I think when I was about 1 year old,
Mhm.
and came back, grabbed my mom. They got married, and so we had been bouncing around for 20 years,
Mhm.
every 2 years. So don't really have a place that I call home.
Okay.
Um, but we lived in Florida for about 6 years, and before leaving the U.S. To go to Colombia earlier this year, I've been living in Greenville, South Carolina for about
Okay.
3 years.
Okay. And then you guys went to Colombia. So how's Merida, like, just, you know, in terms of the culture for you, kind of integrating? Has it been like a smooth kind of, you know, I know you like it a lot or you love it there,
Mm-hmm,
but what
mm-hmm.
was that kind of transition from Colombia? I know you didn't have a lot of stuff. You had your probably one or
Yeah,
two suitcases.
yeah. So Colombia. I mean, Colombia will always have my heart.
Mhm.
That was the first place I went to when I went out 6 years ago. And again, earlier this year, I went back because the goal was to find a place to live. Um, I absolutely love it. You know, you hear all the same rumors about the drug cartels, getting kidnapped and narcos and all of that stuff. I felt very safe there. Very few English speakers there, particularly when you get further out from Medellin, it's even less. And I'll say that while I never really had safety concerns, you still always had to be kind of mindful of your surroundings. People will take advantage. Crime will happen when opportunities present themselves. So every time I walked around with my cell phone, if I'm out recording videos, the locals would tell me, put that in your pocket because somebody will ride up on a motorcycle and snatch it or come rob it. You know, I was out on my laptop one day, locals would come and tell me, put that up, take that back in your house, you're setting yourself up. You know, so you always still had to watch yourself. And so one of the biggest benefits here where I'm at in Merida, you know, it's so safe. While I never really was concerned about my safety, I always had my guard up in Colombia. Here, I can go out every day, all times of night and record, and I can have my laptop. I can, you know, you can wear nice clothes if you wanted to. And nobody's gonna bother you, nobody's gonna mess with you. So that was the immediate feeling that I had when I arrived here, the safety factor. When I got here, it was like midnight, and I came here on my own initially. It was midnight, and I was hungry. And the guy in the hotel was like, well, there's a couple of restaurants down the street. This was in downtown Central. And he was like, you can go grab something to eat. And I was like, I ain't walking out here this time of night to go get something to eat. I'm like, man, you crazy? And so he was like, I promise you, it's super safe. Nobody's gonna bother you. So I took him at his word because I was really hungry. And so I walked down the street, and there were so many people out there in these streets just walking. They had a live band. They was eating, groups, couples walking, individuals walking. And in that moment, I was like, man, this place is really safe. And so I stayed at the restaurant till like 2 in the morning. I walked back, there was still people on the streets, and you know, I went out and explored the following day. And so immediately I was like, okay, just this peace in comparison to where I was in Colombia. Again, I wasn't concerned about my safety, but you always had, just having your guard up a little bit causes a little unnecessary anxiety.
Yes, exactly.
Here, there's none. I had zero. So I love it here, man. I mean, it's so much to do, so many opportunities, cultural opportunities. And I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface on stuff to do here. I don't think we'll run out of things to do for at least the next couple of years.
Probably not. I've been here for 3 years, and like I said, the city's compact. There's so many places I haven't made it to yet. You know, I have like I have an everlasting list for San Miguel, but I have an everlasting list for Mexico. And you know, I really feel like I've explored extensively the US, you know, just from being a child to, you know, early 20s or whatever. And then I started traveling to other continents, but I never really did them. Mexico thorough. And I've been to quite a few places in Mexico over the years, but there's so much to see. And I keep seeing photos and pictures of, I'm like, where's that? And then I'll see how far is it to drive from, you know, where I am, because I'm always about road trips. I'm like, let's do a road trip, you know? But there's a lot to see. What I wanted to ask you is like, because Merida's, if you guys don't know this, but Merida's kind of quickly becoming a very popular Black expat hub. And how's that been for you? Like, what's the community? Is it close knit, or, you know, you see people on the streets, or is it kind of just in the Facebook groups?
Yeah, it started, we definitely are starting to see more people in the streets. I mean, just 6 months ago, I didn't see a lot of Black folks in walking. Now I see them every day. And that's just over a 6-month period. And I've talked to other folks who've been here longer than I have, and they'll tell you that Black folks have always been here. But just from my personal experience, I didn't I've seen them more often just in the last couple of months than I did when I first got here. They do have several close-knit Facebook groups here where oftentimes somebody's always having an event or party or a get-together at someone's home, or they'll meet up at a restaurant or a park. And so they're very close. I've made some very good friends since being here. Just folks that I met from some of these groups, and just some folks who reached out to me just from Facebook or YouTube from videos that they saw. Hey, Cartess, I'm here. Can we meet up for lunch? And so I met some good folks, good quality folks, and I love it. So I would say the community is growing.
Yeah.
Merida is popular in general. I think the thing here is it is hot. It gets very hot. So one of the benefits that I think that suits us well in Merida, a lot of folks will come, but I think a lot of folks will turn around and leave because the heat is unbearable. So it's almost like a win-win. It won't get too crowded, you know what I mean, and too overpopulated, so that heat is running folks off.
I've heard. I was in Caroline's group in the beginning, and I still am, but I think hers was one of the first ones, original ones to be around, and that's the Black expat community. And I remember people always making that comment about the heat. And I always think about my aunt. She's like, it feels like HE double two sticks, and I would just crack up. And I remember writing someone, because when I did my research for Mexico, Merida was one of the places that a Mexican friend of mine had given me as places to consider. I asked her, I said, with a child, where would you consider living? And she's from Mexico. And she moves around a bit, and she's very worldly, and she knew me. So I was like, you know how I am. What would you recommend? So of course, San Miguel came up, but I had already been to San Miguel, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure. I want to see what else. And Merida was on the list, Mexico City, San Miguel, Lake Chapala, and whatever. And then I started just, doing research, and I don't know what swayed me away exactly from Merida. I think it was that my husband wanted to live on the beach. And I said, Merida is not on the beach. Exactly. Yes, there's Progreso, but it's not actually on the beach. So if we're going to do a beach city, then let's be somewhere like, Playa. And for me, Playa was a huge turnoff, because I was coming from Miami, and I was like, I don't want this transient demographic, I just felt like, and I had been there, several times prior on vacation. And I remember my first getting dropped off on, Fifth Avenue in Playa. And it was just like it just reminded me of Ocean Drive or Lincoln Drive. I was like, oh no, I don't want to live here. This just feels like a vacation spot. And I know there are places off, so I'm not knocking Playa, because it has an amazing community right now of Black folks and people in general, expats. And if that's that's where you need to be, then definitely consider. But if you're just like, I want to go to an ocean, just remember Mexico is in the water almost all the way around.
Exactly.
And it's so worth it to investigate other beach towns. But yeah, it's just kind of like too hot. And I just remember someone telling me it's hot. And I was like, I'm moving out. I like the heat. I really do like the heat. But no, I'm like,
it's hot. I mean, it's right now, this time of year is much cooler. I mean, the temperature now is, which is good. It's 84 degrees.
Okay, I'm gonna check hours, because I haven't done that. I don't even check the temperature here, but I'm curious. Let's see.
With a high of 88 today, which this is a day we look forward to, compared, just
July.
A few months ago, it's like 110 degrees.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, it is 66. And the high is gonna be 79. And the low tonight will be 42. And this is what it will be for the next infinity because it goes all the way to next. Yeah, so every night it's like about 40. That's so funny because I never look at this. So every night it's about averaging 40 to 43. And every day the high is about 75 to 79. Or right now, no, 70.
That's good weather. That's good weather.
Yeah, it's 66 right now. I literally have my, I turned my fireplace on just to keep it kind of cozy in my house, but I'm starting to get hot because the sun's coming up and it's that very dry heat because we're in the mountains and there's not like a lot of humidity. We're like over 6,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's nice. We don't have a lot of bugs, y'all. We don't have a lot of
man.
So yeah, just saying.
We had the opposite. We have a lot of bugs here. I mean, our first night in our house, I walked outside the drive, opened up the door, and there was this big giant tarantula sitting in my driveway. And I was like, man, what the heck is that big old sedan doing in my driveway?
Yeah, right? With fur on it.
I had never seen anything like that in my life. And I ran back in the house and I went through and found every crack, crevice and started stuffing it, called the fumigator the next day. I mean, it terrified me. If that thing had been in my house, I probably would have packed up and left.
You would have passed out first. That is hilarious. I know. No, that's what happens, and people have to realize like they want the beach, and this is any beach, you guys. Any beach you go to, even in Florida, there are creatures in the tropics, period. Okay, creatures in the tropics should be a movie. Don't go to the tropical places and say, oh, are there pests or there bugs? Yes, that's where they reside mostly. I was in Puerto Vallarta last year, and I'm kind of like, I don't want them in my house, but I grew up kind of like in a country, a lot of outdoor spaces and whatever. So I'm used to bugs, and I don't like them necessarily, but I'm not like, I'm not the screaming female. When I see them, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, But in saying all of that, I remember last year going to Puerto Vallarta after living here, and for a month we were there, and we were in a really cool house in kind of a jungle setting. And when I say jungle, like the main road was right there, but it was really tropical, very overgrown, really nice. But there were so many noises and things at night. I've never heard of a night chicken. Have you heard of a night chicken?
I never heard of that.
Look it up. They don't even know how to fly right. Well, chickens don't really fly, but this was a weird bird they call a night chicken. I was like, what is that sound? A night chicken. And just bugs. And I remember like the third week in, going downstairs, my mom was there, and all of like the rooms were in individual, like in a hallway, but individual doors. So it wasn't like an enclosed space. It was like you were walking from outside into your bedroom.
Wow.
And I was like, every time we were going in the night, I'm like, hurry up and close the door. Mosquitoes and bugs are gonna get in, hurry up. And we were putting towels on the bottom so they can't get in. I said to my mom, I said, you know what it is I don't like? It's so buggy here. And she just laughed, and I was like, geckos and whatever. And it was beautiful. Like, it was a beautiful home, beautiful setting. Again, don't freak out. I'm just saying, like, don't expect to not encounter, mosquitoes, geckos, cockroaches, spiders. That's their setting. Like, that you're living where they live. So
they have a whole nother breed of cockroaches, man. I was like, it took us about 2 weeks to adjust to because every day there was something new popping up, a scorpion showing up, and it's like, and then you have the geckos getting in, and then you have, the big iguanas. You can't leave your door open because they might run in your house, and these weird noises you hear. And so, but it took us about a couple of weeks, of course, to seal everything up and get a fumigator out there to kind of tidy the place up. But since then, we have no problems. Like you said, you just having to adapt. It's just that initial shock. You think it'll never end, but It is. It goes away at some
Yeah.
point. This house
I
has
mean,
been vacant for a couple of months.
okay. Yeah. And that happens if you're moving into a space that has, no one's lived in for a while. I just want people to not be freaked out. Like it's
Yes, absolutely.
beautiful and you'll fix it, you'll make it happen, but don't go there and get mad about a creature crawling around because this is it's a tropical place and that's what you need to remember, and it's
Absolutely.
hot, like you said. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, so what do you feel about the cost of living compared to Colombia? Obviously, we know it's less than the US.
Whew. Well, I'll tell you this. The further away from Medellin I got, the cheaper things got in the other parts of Colombia. I mean, it was not unusual and I rented an Airbnb, they're typically higher.
Mhm.
They have Airbnbs for like $375, $379 a month. And
Wow.
I'm talking about a 3-bedroom condo,
Mm.
brand new, completely furnished, utilities included, internet included, phone service included,
Wow.
swimming pool on property, um, gymnasium on property. So I find the cost of living in Colombia tends to be a little cheaper.
Mhm.
I would say much, much cheaper because depending on where you go,
Mhm.
even here in Merida, the further out from the tourist areas, you do find significant deals. But I would say Colombia is probably a little cheaper.
Mhm.
You get a little more for your money there.
Mhm.
But those same opportunities are still available here in Mexico
Mhm.
if you're willing to extend out past the traditional expat areas.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I think people always ask me the same because San Miguel is, as a city goes,
Mhm.
a lot higher because of its history and all the people that have moved here. But I also think those are personal choices.
Yes. Oh,
Like
yes.
if you need real fancy, then you're going to pay for it just like you would in the US. So
Mhm.
it is less, and like the things that surround your cost of living, like utilities, your water bill, your insurance for your vehicle, if you have that, your electric bills and internet and all that, is definitely relatively less expensive than the
Oh,
US.
yes.
However, if you want to be high end, you can rent for 3, 5,000, 10,000 probably US dollars a month, or you can rent for 300. So it kind of
Exactly.
depends on where you want to
Exactly.
rest your head at night. So I always tell people to consider that, as something, because people ask that all the time. And I'm like, well, it kind of depends on your style.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. Because the house that I'm in now, I'm paying about $800 a month. It's a
Okay.
3-bedroom
Mhm.
townhouse, 3 levels, swimming pool.
Nice.
It's super nice, marble floors or
Mhm.
ceramic floors. I mean, it's super, super nice. Easily in the U.S., I mean, it probably would run me in the average city, would probably run me 1,800, 2,500 a month
Wow.
all day.
Mhm.
And it's on the wealthier side of town, and it's definitely worth the money. It's in a gated community,
Mhm.
which I wanted to be in because oftentimes, if I ever had to go out and had to leave the girls behind, I wanted them to be in a very safe
Right.
side of town,
Right.
security, and all of that. Now, being here 6 months, I'm realizing that because of my wandering around, making all these videos and going to these other neighborhoods, I'm realizing now, and I'm more comfortable now
Mhm.
to live further out,
Mhm.
and I see the same place on the other side of town
Mhm.
for like 400 a month. So
Wow.
same setup, larger
Mhm.
pool,
Mhm.
a lot more people in the community I can engage with and interact
Mhm.
with here. All the houses in the area or neighborhoods in the area have these big walls and behind security gates. So you
Mhm.
never get an opportunity to interact with people. They
Ah,
pull in through the gate in their car, they go in their driveway, and they go in the house.
right.
When I walk these other neighborhoods where it's completely open and people are all over the streets, I'm
Mhm.
able to talk to more people. They engage me.
Mhm.
You know, really, it really gives you the opportunity to assimilate into local culture
Right.
and in the community, which I see the big advantage. So I'm
Mhm.
actively now looking for another place to get out of
Okay.
here
Mhm.
hopefully within the next 30, 45 days,
Wow.
and literally be in the neighborhood where the locals live. I think
Okay.
it's so much more advantages and opportunities
Yeah.
in doing that.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I feel that where we ended up, which I think was just all real divine order, really and
Mhm.
truly, because we did a research trip. We looked at this place because we just wanted to get an idea for cost.
Yeah.
And we spent the whole day, with the guy that was showing us all these neighborhoods. And I was just like, where do they rent? Because at the time I didn't understand in Mexico, they don't really have apartment buildings for rent with rental
Yeah.
units. Usually each thing is individually owned. So, I was getting a little bit like, can you just bring us to like where apartments are? So I didn't understand that. So this is also
Mhm.
another tidbit for you guys. So don't get mad if the realtor is taking you to all these crazy places because it happens. Understand that what's in their repertoire is what they have available. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's good for you to just get to a place for a month and do Airbnb
Yeah.
and then do, just like you said, spend time, get to know the neighborhoods, meet people, word of mouth, and find your forever, not your forever spot, but your spot that you want to be in
Yeah.
for a long term. But what happened with this was we were asking a lot of questions. They were bringing us to places for sale. I was not interested in that because I'm like, I don't know if I want to stay here and be tied to property. So we
Yeah.
ended up in this house and as a rental, and also a lot of the spaces come with furniture. And
Mhm.
I remember my husband was kind of like, oh, it's only, I don't remember what they quoted us the first time. I want to say 16 or 17,000 pesos as well.
Mhm.
And that's also 3-3. And, we were like, oh, okay, cool. We're getting all excited. He's like, well, can we come in 30 days? And I was like, slow down. I was like, no, not coming in 30 days, but we'll see if it's here. And it was still available. 6 months
Wow.
later, it was still available. I was communicating with them that I was moving, very interested. But in being here, I'm really happy here. But yeah, there are some deals that are better. And then there's also a wide range at times in the same development. I don't know if you've run into this
Mhm.
with between owners. Like one owner will
Yeah.
ask for some crazy price
Yep.
because maybe they've gotten away with it or they're just throwing something out to see if it'll stick. And people need to understand like almost everything in this regard is negotiable.
Absolutely.
So
Everything.
ask it and maybe you shall receive it.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
no, I think that's great, but definitely Merida is a spot, I think is a great landing city if you're new to Mexico and you really want to find, upgraded living for a more affordable, setting. Here it's definitely a little bit more, but you can still find deals. You can still find really good deals. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be a little hard pressed to find, I think, a nice like development setting, 3-3
Mhm.
for 400. Oh my God, I would love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I've seen places, and it baffles my mind. I saw a place last week, 3 bedrooms,
Yeah.
on like an acre and a half of
Wow.
land with lemon trees, orange trees, papaya growing on the property. They
Mhm.
had oranges. There was a few other things, and that was $275 a month, and had
Wow.
a massive pool. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? What? I'm like, really?
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
like,
Wow.
this
How
is
far out
insane.
was that?
Actually, it's probably about 20 minutes from where I'm at right now.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. And I'm seeing deals like that regularly.
Wow.
275, 300, 400.
Mhm.
And they're huge. I
Mhm.
mean, big places.
Wow.
So and when I say swimming pools, I'm talking swimming pools that's maybe 30 to 40 feet long,
Wow.
by 15, 18 feet wide, like
Wow.
humongous. And the pool guys, they come out, they treat, like the little pool I have,
Mhm.
they come out like $6 a week to
I
clean the pool.
know. I
It's
know.
insane.
I know. Oh my
Insane.
gosh. So Merida is still to me, and there are other places in Mexico, lots of other places in Mexico that to me really fall in that super affordable category, and you get a lot for your money. You get a lot for your money in San Miguel, but you get way more in these cities. So, you know, if you're considering it here, yes, it's hot. Yes, there are, you know, creatures, whatever, but that's a, you know, that's a minutia thing in general. And I think that it's worth considering, even from an investment standpoint, you know, for sure from an investment standpoint. And I think that that's all going to boom. Merida's kind of probably where San Miguel was 15 years ago, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a bigger city. And people need to also know that it was voted several years in a row one of the safest cities in Mexico. Just in case they didn't, you know that. But it's probably where, yeah, San Miguel was 15 years ago. When I came here in 2005, that was my first visit to Mexico, was to San Miguel. And I remember we were looking at properties. We went on this whole frenzy, you know, like, let's look, because we liked the city. We saw that it was growing, but at the same time, I was like, I'm 36. What am I supposed to do here? You know, there's a bunch of retirees doing yoga and making clay molds. I was like, no, this is not where I want to be. You know, had I known in my young 36-year-old mind that this city was going to now be worth millions of dollars, I would have invested and bought property. So take the advice from this, you know, older person, not that old, but older person, that if you're in a space in Mexico somewhere that looks like it's up and coming, consider maybe investing if you can. But we looked at a couple houses, but I remember one in particular that was kind of dilapidated, and it was in El Centro, which it's literally 2,000 US dollars a square foot or square meter here right now in Central, which is outrageous. And this is what an architect told me a few months ago. But we were looking at a place that was kind of dilapidated. I think it was 3 levels, but it was really close to the parochia of the church. And it was like 30 or 40,000 US dollars for this. Yeah. And I'm sure right now it's probably 6, 7, 800, 900,000. Like the houses in Central are like insane. I'm talking US dollars, you guys, not pesos. Okay.
Wow.
Houses here are often in Central upwards of $500,000. So
absolutely.
yeah,
I've seen that myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want one of those deals. So if you see something Cartess like, let me know. I'll come over.
I definitely will. I will.
I know there are places here, like you can buy land kind of on the outskirts, like 15, 20 minutes as well, but they are going up. You know, they are definitely increasing because the city's starting to spread now, getting a little bigger at a time. Yeah. But yeah, that's a painful experience, memory. I'm like, oh, I remember feeling so frustrated. I was like, well, you know, we just went through building 2 houses in the US, and it was kind of like a little bit of a negative experience on the second house in Texas. And I remember just feeling like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to do this in Mexico. You know, this house is falling apart. Should have done it.
Should have done it. Wow. Well, I imagine there's plenty more opportunities that present themselves
Absolutely.
in the coming years. And like you say, I mean, these places are, particularly here, it's up and coming. I mean, there's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, I think if you have the opportunity to invest in, you think you want to stay in Mexico, or you just want to invest your money in land and, you know, hang on to it. Even building a home is much cheaper than buying a home. I know people don't always understand this concept, but it is definitely cheaper to build a home here. You know, I've been looking at some things, so I'm learning more as I go, but it's really affordable. But anyway, tell me a little bit about your business. I don't want to hold you like forever. What are you doing in Mexico? I know you're into several things, and I think that people need to know, because they could probably hire you to help them on their journey to becoming expats and earning income.
Yeah. So for the last 20 plus years, I've done a variety of things. Like I said, that ADD is both a blessing and a curse. Give you the opportunity to do a lot And so initially 22 years ago, I made my money selling religious t-shirts on the internet. My mom was like, hey, Carl, my nickname, hey, can you build me a website? I had just got out the Air Force, and the internet, that was my first time being exposed to it. I went to my parents' house and I was like, what is this? You know, like everybody else, the first thing you do is get on these little personal chats and chat with girls and try and date and all that. And so, but eventually I started to see the bigger picture. And I was like, man, can I make money with this thing? And that's about the time the entrepreneurial bug bit. And so she was like, can you build me a t-shirt site to sell Christian shirts? And so we reached out to some folks. They wanted like $25,000 for a website because it's fairly new back 20 some years ago. And so it was like, we don't have no 20 G's. And so I went and bought some books, taught myself website design, learned the coding and HTML, which took me in a whole new path. So we actually did very well with that. People started hiring me to build websites and hiring me to do their marketing and advertising because of the results we had there. And so that started to transition over into courses. So now everybody's doing courses now, making how-to courses. But we were doing that 15 years ago. And when it wasn't popular, trying to convince people that, hey, this is a thing. And so I've been building courses for the last 15 years. Still do that, help people package up their knowledge and experiences. And the beauty about courses, you create this thing one time and sell it over and over and over again. So that's primarily what I do now. I also offer coaching and consulting, look at people's businesses, help them come up with a game plan to build it and or grow it. So that's pretty much what I do now, more so on a consulting level, a course building level.
That's really good because you know, that question comes up, and I'm sure you get it as well, for the fact that you moved to Colombia and now you're in Mexico. How can I earn money? Can I get a job? And I'm always telling people, you really don't want to earn pesos because it's not going to give you, you know, maybe even a percentage of the lifestyle that you are expecting to have living in Mexico. But I think sometimes a lot of us have been so conditioned to working a 9-to-5, and that's the security of the 9-to-5. And, you know, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around earning on your own, you know, from the entrepreneurial side, or what can I do, and how do I make it happen? And if you haven't really maybe had this experience, or maybe a moment in your life when you just really had to like pull something together and earn income in the US, and, you know, giving that up and moving to a foreign country can be super overwhelming and scary. So I'm really happy that, you know, you discussed and talked about that. And there are lots of, like you said, people out there packaging, coaching, and stuff like that. But, you know, I want people to also understand, like, it is doable. Like, if you do have a skill set of some sort, this is a great way to explore that. And there's so many resources like yourself, but also even just like free stuff going on the internet, and, you know, figuring out like, how do I put this all together? And, you know, building, I mean, we're all going through this, you know, building websites and whatever, but I think it's good to, if you can, hire someone like yourself to help guide you through the process so you can get there a little faster, the journey shorter, you know. And if you're at a job in the US, you know, take some of that money and invest in something like that. What's the name of your programs, or where would someone find you? What's your website? I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, so I have 2 websites primarily for that type of stuff. Cartessross.com, my name, CARTESS, Ross, ROSS.com. Also have another site called squigglyventures.com, Ventures, VENTURES, and of course our travel site for moveabroadandthrive.com.
Okay, that one I've seen. Okay.
And, you know, and just to piggyback off of what you said, you I just believe that everybody has a particular skill set, they have specific knowledge or a know-how that they could package up and turn into a business. And, one of the things I generally suggest people, which is super simple, super easy, set up a YouTube channel and just start talking about the thing that you're most passionate about.
Yeah.
And as you do that, I think opportunities will start to present themselves. People will ask questions, they will write comments, and you'll start to see a pattern from which you can start to navigate and build off of.
Right.
And because YouTube, a lot of folks say, oh, you can't make any money doing YouTube. And YouTube is really a thing. And YouTube is not even my business model, but I do use YouTube to get traffic, build awareness, to bring traffic and awareness to my company. But and I'm stressing, YouTube is not my business model, but Google/YouTube, they have paid me $100,000 from the ads that have consistently ran across my videos.
Right.
And that's with me not even focusing on that. So if I actually focused on this as a business, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that thing could do well.
Blow up,
and because of YouTube, because of my videos on YouTube, I've gotten sponsorship deals, I've gotten influencer relationship deals, I've gotten customers and clients, so just this platform opens up doors and it doesn't cost you anything. So I suggest just talk about your passion. I just convinced my 13-year-old to set up a channel. And I was telling her, I was like, okay, you're 13, 3 years from now, you'll be 16. You want a car? You start this thing now, sharing your experience about ballet. You're an American from the US in Mexico, Black girl in the classroom, and sharing your experiences from where you are now in ballet. In 3 years, you'll be at a whole nother level. People want to follow you. Share those stories. Don't overthink this thing, to get on there and talk about the things you're actively doing. If you're going through a divorce, talk about how you're getting through that divorce and the challenges that you're facing. And people, you can build a tribe around that, and you will get paid, and opportunities will just show up. And, it's amazing. It's free.
No, it is. It really is. And, that's kind of where I started last year. I mean, I was in PV and, I was just like, I want to do, because, I had people individually asking me questions. They would find me on Facebook. I'd make a comment and someone would say, Michelle's in San Miguel. Michelle's in San Miguel. How do I get from blah, blah, blah? And I thought, okay, people do want to know what life is for us through this lens. And that's what I started with. And as you said, it started to tighten and become more and more. And I had the same mindset. I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to share my journey. And this is life through my lens is the reason why I even called it Afro Expats. It's just like, here's my big hair. I'm in Mexico. I'm an expat. It wasn't really about anything. I wasn't thinking about a specific demographic necessarily, and it wasn't excluding. It was life through my lens, and hence the name and whatever. And fast forward to now, I hit 1,000 subscribers. And, and I was just like, in the hours, and I was just like, like impressed with the journey more so than anything. I'm not even so focused on obviously, yes, it'd be great to make money, but my point simply is watching videos and listening to what you said in the beginning. They were like, the only way you're going to get somewhere is to actually start. Even if you don't have it doesn't have to be hammered out, start it. And also think about it in I say a business sense, but think about it like, yes, you want to be something. So you got to be consistent. I watch things like do something every week, twice a week, see what people say and build it around that. And that's kind of, how this even happened, where people were asking me questions like, what is it like? And then I was like, okay, you know what? I think people don't realize how large this country is. And I want to showcase us, even in small pockets around Mexico, you know, and for me, it's been really a beautiful thing. I know I spend a lot of time talking to folks on all my interviews. They're always over an hour. So thank you for spending this time with me.
Absolutely,
But, you know,
absolutely.
it's like, I never realized like people will sit and actually watch this. And I was just like you, I was not a big YouTuber. I would go to YouTube to figure out what's wrong with my printer? I can't connect it to the Wi-Fi. Little things, you know, how do I work my Canon Rebel camera? You know, show my son, like, listen, this is the easy way to tie your shoelace. But I wasn't like a subscriber, religiously watching person.
Yeah.
And now I am, and I appreciate it. And it's just what you said, it's a free platform. You have to work at it, but it can certainly pay off with some dedication and you know, just honing in on what works for you and what you have to say. And everyone's experience, someone's interested in what you're talking about, you know, it really does work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I hope I can get to
Absolutely.
your level, Cartess. I'm trying to get to your level.
I'm a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah, I'm a little
You
tiny
know, but I love the
smelt.
name that you have.
Thank you.
But yeah, I love the name Afro Expats. And I mean, you know, like you said, it's the consistency to stick with it. And it's going, one day you're going to wake up and it's just like, boom.
I hope
And
so.
it's crazy. I had a course, I used to do antiques, not to drag this out, but
No, that's
I
okay.
used to go to antique auctions and buy chairs from the 50s and 60s,
Mm.
and I would resell them. And so I used to post this content on YouTube. And then one day I got a call from a network, a producer. They were looking for somebody to be on a reality show that would go to auctions. Because I had content and because I had a course online, they assumed I was the expert on this topic. And they interviewed me, took me through a bunch of processes and interviews, and they really liked me. I mean, it was really looking like I was going to get this lead in this reality show. But I got inside my own head, started thinking I ain't good enough. Who's going to listen to me? This was probably about 8 years ago, and I'm like, man, I feel like they call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I felt like I was a fraud. You know what I mean? And so I started ducking them guys. I stopped answering their phone calls. I started hiding, and they chased me for a month. And so after a month, they finally stopped. And I look back on it now and realize it was just a big wasted opportunity. You know, I would never let that happen again.
Yeah.
But that came because of videos. People will seek you out. Opportunities will present themselves.
Right.
And, you know, so that's why they continue to share, because you just don't know what piece of content is just going to take you off.
Yeah. And I'm definitely optimistic about it all, you know, because I see it, and what I think encourages me the most is when people make it to Mexico and they said, I watched your stuff, and I just feel really good. You know, I think, okay, you know, and I like this. Like, I like meeting you guys online because I'm more of an introvert. You know, like, I like to be at home, watch my little Netflix. I go out a lot, but I'm naturally kind of like, you know, I don't mind doing my loner things, you know, going on a trip with just my family or out to eat. We're super social here because we get invited to a lot of things, and Mexico is just culturally this way. But I remember being in Connecticut, and yeah, I just love being at home. I didn't have and mostly in Florida, actually, I didn't have a ton of friends. And so this has been really nice because I really enjoy the one-on-one interactions with people and having very meaningful conversations about them and their journey, or sharing, exchanging. So this is really feeling like, okay, this is up my alley, and it's bringing inspiration to people. And what I realized here is one of my strong, and I never thought about this, but one of my strong points is creating community. And that's my thing. You know, I haven't figured out how to exactly capitalize on that, but I like to bring people together, and, you know, to experience things together. And this is a way online to do that. And even here in San Miguel, to your point of, you know, talking yourself out of something, you know, the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, where it's like, oh, I remember a girl saying to me a couple years ago, she visited, she was here for a few months, and she said, Michelle, why don't you create a Black SMA page? And I was like, you know, who's going to want to come here? You know, I don't see a lot of Black folks. And she's like, because they don't know about it. And I was like, yeah, I know, you know. And I was just thinking like, okay, but so many others are here. Anyway, long story short, I finally did it at the beginning of this year, finally. And it has a good, you know, it has a great following. People are saying, I found you online, or heard about you, or I saw your, we did a HGTV episode in San Miguel a couple of months ago. So that is aired, and that's brought spotlight to San Miguel from our lens once again. But in saying that, you know, people have been coming, and now there's a group of ladies that are going to be coming in a group of writers that are coming next month, and there are more and more people visiting. And one of my friends that lives here, she said, you know, I've been living here for 13 years, Michelle. And she goes, this was a week ago. She says, I have never seen as many Black people walking around in San Miguel. She's like, I want to think that it has something to do with your page. And I said, maybe, you know, and I'm not taking the claim for it, but I think that a lot of us didn't know about the city. And it's really an amazing place, at the very least, to visit, you know, take a vacation to. So I'm like, okay, you know, there's some validation there.
There you go. I mean, just from listening to you earlier, you know, in the conversation, I'm like, I'm gonna check out San Miguel. I mean, I had never heard of it. And, you know, just your conversation about it, your feedback, and from your perspective, you have influenced me to want to come check it out. So there's no doubt in my mind, you have you've seen a larger Black presence because of what you're doing now.
Yeah, no, it makes me feel good, because I feel a little like mother hen. I don't get to meet everyone, but I kind of am like, you know, if people have questions, you know, I recently created a San Miguel traveler guide that's 30 pages, and, you know, it's a ebook, but it's still there. It's right on your phone. It has all the links to all the places. So, you know, for me, this is kind of, these are my experiences, and this is my recommendation. Like, for example, last week, there was a couple that joined. So I have a Black SMA hyphen San Miguel de Allende page. So join that on Facebook. At least you can kind of see what we're doing. But anyway, they were on there, and I can't remember their whole story, but I put an event that was happening last Tuesday. They showed up for the event, and I was there as well. And it was really amazing. That I remember the guy saying to me, you know, I'm having an amazing time. The city's awesome. However, I haven't really had the meals that I was expecting to have. And so I was like, really? And I was like, well, where have you been eating? So he told me like the first 3 places. I was like, oh no, like those are the tourist traps. I said, because, you know, if they've been around long enough, they're going to come up when you do a search, like on Yelp or wherever. Those are the tourist traps. And I was like, you know, did you see, because he said, oh, I saw your book, but, you know, and he gave me some pointers on what I could do differently, which was super helpful. But I was like, oh no, I was like, here's where we're going, like after this event. And they were like finger licking, like, this was really good. I said, you should have told me you weren't having good meals. I said, get the book. Is like a whole, you know, about 3 pages actually about restaurants, breakfast, lunch, dinner recommendations. And anyway, and saying all of that, you know, it does become, like I said, a community setting where people can go. And I love that people are asking questions, and others that live here are answering those questions. So it makes me feel like, oh, this was worth it. And I'm glad that my friend made that recommendation, you know, because you just don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Exactly.
don't doubt yourself.
Don't doubt, just don't
Yeah.
doubt. I mean, we get in our own head
Yeah,
sometimes, all the time, and
absolutely.
we got to tune it out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so, so much, Cartess. And I'm going to put all your info. So it's cartessross.com, squiggly ventures. We're going to have to spell that one out.com, and moveabroadandthrive.com. And I've been on that, and that's an awesome space. You could tell me it's kind of like helping people relocate to
Correct.
Mexico. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
Correct. Or just anywhere abroad in general, just, really cheaper. I'm trying to identify, I'm going to be visiting all these different countries, really just trying to find places that quality living, but at much lower cost.
Okay.
So that's the goal of that site.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, there you have it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with the audience, so I won't hold you up for the rest of the day.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful. I appreciate your time. And man, I look forward to sharing this interview and sharing your page as well.
Thank you.
And I think this was great. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for reaching out to me. I'm happy about it.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure we post all your businesses and anything else in the description when this is going to air. I'll share that with you. Thank you all for watching and continue to support Afro Expats. I really appreciate you. I should have said this in the beginning. I always forget. Please subscribe, hit the subscribe, share, and like my channel. It really helps all the content that I put out to become more available to others on YouTube. And if there's anyone out there in any space in the US, Canada, that's interested in moving to Mexico, I also can be found on afroexpats.com, and I offer relocation services. I really, focus on Mexico, but on a deeper level, San Miguel is my place. This is my spot. So thanks so much, Cartess, for being here. And I really appreciate it. And I really hope our paths will cross in the near future.
They will. Thank you.
Yes.
You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Appreciate
you too. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Thank you.